My name is Peridot. I am a transparent green gemstone. I was discovered by chance in the center of Patagonia. But I arrived there after a long and perilous journey through stars and sky. While most peridot stones are born in the Earth's crust, my origin is rather different. I am extraterrestrial. You're listening to Voyage of Jewels, a podcast from L'École, School of Jewelry Arts, supported by Cleef Arpels. Unveiling the stories and secrets behind history's most fascinating jewels. My story began in the great asteroid belt that lies between Jupiter and Mars. It was here that a rock full of metal has been orbiting for billions of years, suspended in the cold and the silence. Suddenly, something caused it to lose its balance and sent it hurtling through the solar system at breakneck speed. Perhaps a collision with a celestial object? Even though I was still hidden inside the iron-nickel matrix of the meteorite known as palisite, I was happy to get closer and closer to the light and heat of the sun, believe me. However, I needed to be patient. It would be some time before I reached you.
Peridot is a gemstone, a surprising mineral because it has both terrestrial and extraterrestrial origins. It can form in space, but also on Earth.
Laetitia Gilles Guery, gemologist and professor at L'École, School of Jewelry Arts.
In the latter case, it is rarely found on the Earth's surface, but is very abundant in the mantle. This is where it forms, and it is one of the rare examples, like the diamond, of a mineral that forms at great depths. The peridot, also like the diamond, occasionally rises to the surface. There is an amazing example in 2018 in Hawaii, when a volcano erupted and literally spewed out peridot crystals into gardens and onto beaches before the astonished eyes of local inhabitants, who were able to collect them. However, in instances like these, the peridot crystals are so small that they aren't necessarily suited to jewelry use. As for peridot's extraterrestrial formation, that's a whole different process. When asteroids form, heavier minerals concentrate around the asteroid's core, and slightly lighter minerals like peridot form the subsequent layers.
La collision qui forme ces parasites extraordinaires.
Drawn to Earth, I collided with the atmosphere on my trajectory, leaving a tremendous trail of fire in my wake. I passed through clouds and layers of air, feeling wind and water for the first time, a welcome pleasure, albeit short-lived. The meteorite that surrounded me landed in the middle of the Patagonian desert, near the city of Esquel in Argentina. The impact was so violent that I was pushed several yards underground, sending a shockwave rippling throughout the entire region. And then, silence. A long silence. I remained buried in the ground for decades, perhaps centuries. It was only by chance that I saw the sky once again in the early 1950s. The man who found me was working in his field in a place known as Bajada del Diablo, the Devil's Descent, a name you couldn't make up. The area itself is located a few kilometers from Esquel and is dry and arid, dotted here and there with huge impact craters. The farmer was digging a hole for a water cistern when he suddenly uncovered a hard mass that sounded like metal. What he believed to be a rock weighing over 1,500 pounds was actually the meteorite inside which I lay hidden. But the farmer didn't understand the extent of his discovery and put me aside. Once again, I had to wait. It isn't until years later, in the 1990s that my discoverer has a breakthrough. Reading a popular science magazine, he came across an advertisement placed by a meteorite hunter looking for new treasures. That is when my life changed forever.
Every day, approximately 230 meteorites weighing over 10 grams enter the atmosphere. There is an important distinction to be made. The asteroid is the meteor that passes through the atmosphere, and the meteorite is what falls to Earth. So every day, new material, sometimes several tons, is added to the Earth. Most meteorites are small. As the Earth is primarily made up of oceans, they fall into the water. We don't necessarily see them with our own eyes, but occasionally larger meteorites fall. Some of these are enormous, but this is rare. However, one example is the case of the meteorite that landed in Esquel.
The farmer called the number on the advert. A few weeks later, an American who calls himself the Meteorite Man lands at Esquel Airport. He is an avid collector. He crouches down to look at me properly, and staring at my shell, he can barely stifle a cry of amazement. In all modesty, I believe he has never seen such beauty before. He takes me back to Tucson, Arizona, where he begins a thorough examination. The Palisade asteroid that surrounds me wasn't just made of iron and nickel, but also contains small green crystals, gems from the sky that you know as peridos. And that is how I see the light of day for the first time. Holding me up to the light, the meteorite hunter has the impression that he is looking through a vivid green stained glass window framed with polished metal. An extraterrestrial cathedral.
So we need to distinguish between two different types of materials. We differentiate between meteorites, which are extraterrestrial rocks that fall to Earth, and impactites. Impactites are terrestrial rocks that have been modified, altered, or transformed by the impact of a meteorite. Impactites can contain various materials. One example is moldavite. This is a natural green glass believed to have originated from a meteorite that fell in Bohemia some 15 million years ago. Another example is Libyan desert glass, which is also a natural glass and is found in the Libyan desert. Since antiquity, it has been used in pieces like Tutankhamun's pectoral, where we can see a scarab carved from Libyan glass. We can also mention meteoric iron, which is a little different in terms of formation, but this is the only natural source of iron in its native state on the surface of the Earth. It too has been used since antiquity to make bladed weapons like Tutankhamun's dagger. All these different materials are absolutely fascinating. Initially, we didn't understand how they were formed. Today, we have a better understanding. In any case, since ancient times, these materials have been recognized as unique, in that they can only be found in specific places. They are special. Possibly, at the time, people believed they came from the sky. They certainly possessed a symbolism and a rarity that made them exceptional materials that were used in incredible pieces.
Incroyable.
Today, collectors continue to search for Esquel meteorites. The one I came from has joined the collections of the Mineralogy Museum of Mines Paris PSL, where my green color is admired by all. Visitors leave with stars in their eyes, which for me is the greatest reward. After wandering for so long through the cosmos, I have finally found my place on Earth. Listen now to Voice of Jewels, a podcast by L'École School of Jewelry Arts with the support of Cleef Arpels. With the participation of Laetitia Gilles Guery and Anne Lee, gemologist and professor at L'École School of Jewelry Arts. Written by Martin Quenehen and Aram Kebabdjian. Performed by Edoardo Ballerini and produced by Bababam.